Hi, everyone. Hi, Mila. Welcome to Cards Against Complexity.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. And we're starting a new season of Cards Against Complexity. We're playing today again in a minute. We'll get to know Mila in a minute. But maybe just to start the season off, we're talking about financial services and the complexities and I think joy and success we can see when we do it well of customer service and customer success in financial services. Getting this right requires a lot. We've got a couple of guests coming up in the next few episodes who will shine a light on this in the different businesses and different functions. And today we're starting with Mila Suthakar from Wave. You're based in Toronto, and Wave serves clients in North America. Tell us more about what brought you into customer success and specifically what Wave does.
I started my career in collections, actually. So I've always been customer facing, but I really spent a lot of my career thinking what would be the other side of customer facing, where you want to try to make someone happy rather than like soliciting a demand. And so I made my transition into customer service, customer success. And I don't know, I think there's such joy in actually helping people. That's actually, I think collections gets a bad rap as something that's sort of like mean, but I actually think the best sort of experiences are where you can help a person do something in their day and make them feel better. So that's kind of my journey. And I've been in the CS world for about, I think it's 6 years now.
I mean, that's the reality in financial services, right? A
Yes.
lot of the work that we're doing is maybe not beautiful. It's part of the life of customers, of businesses, and collections is part of that. Regulation is part of our lives. We'll talk about this in a second, what this means for customer service, customer success. Before I jump into the cards, maybe can you tell us just a bit more about Wave? Because I think that's also interesting, just to understand the kind of complexity you're working with in your day-to-day work.
Yeah. So Wave was founded about 11 years ago. We basically are building an accounting software of choice for small business owners in North America predominantly. We did used to be in the rest of the world as well. So we do have some customers there, but that's not necessarily our target market right now. But we span the breadth of businesses in North America, anywhere from someone who's running a lawn mowing service through to someone who might be a consultant doing big ticket items and or coaching. So I think we have a lot of different kinds of small business owners, and that is really our focus. So a lot of difference and complexity and navigating some of those, like you said, compliance issues. How do those small businesses collect from their customers? How do they invoice them? How do they reconcile? How do they figure out how much money they're making? Like, what's their revenue? What's their profit? What are they losing? What do they need to do more of? Our software is aiming to be something that saves them time in that aspect so they can focus on what they do best.
Very cool. Very, very interesting as well. Also, the scale of impact that you can have with so many business owners. I would love to jump into this in a second. But before we do that, we always open up a deck of Cards Against Complexity. And actually, we've got for the new season a whole new deck. So let's have a look. I did peek before. I didn't show you the cards. But what I'll do is, just brief introduction for everyone who hasn't listened in yet. Cards Against Complexity, similar concept to Cards Against Humanity. We've got one card on the left. It's a sentence, and Mila will complete this one in a second and need to complete it with one of the three options, which might not be ideally placed and a perfect fit for this, but we'll see where we get. Wave lets you introduce a new feature as an April Fool's joke. It's April soon, right? We can look forward to spring everywhere. For one day, all payrolls will be paid in vacation days. That's convenient. A new cryptocurrency. Some people do that these days. And third option, Monopoly money.
Oh no!
You gotta choose. So that's part of the game. But so when I saw this before, I love the options. So let's see what we.
Okay, I feel like this is an easy one, right? Because the state of the world is such that at least I can convert my cryptocurrency into actual hard-earned cash. I think as a support leader, I really would not want vacation days of Monopoly money to be the thing. But that's really funny. It would definitely be cryptocurrency, and it would be my brain goes to like all the challenges around like explaining cryptocurrency and like how can you convert it and where do you get a wallet and oh my gosh, yeah, definitely cryptocurrency, but not without its challenges.
So some good crypto for a day. We get April Fool's crypto. What would we name this? I think there's all kinds of names for this as well, right? But that's a whole different discussion, I think.
I think so too.
And with those with that crypto money in there, you've just got a new challenge on your desk as well, right? Like I mean, even and this is interesting. Like regulating crypto is something that happens, right? Or open regulation for it. But whatever you do around crypto, actually, if you have that product under your belt, you've got even more work in customer success. I assume these days. I'm sure we'll have someone on this show in the next few episodes. Let's use this as a segue into where you're right now at. I mean, in Wave I think without a crypto offering at this point, but we have an option for the team for now. Like this is for the roadmap maybe. But even without the crypto offering, I mean, we know, and I think everybody even outside of financial services knows it's complex. It's regulated. There's a lot of compliance. And if I look at the role of customer success in there, it's a broad role. And maybe we start with that. Like, what does customer success for you mean in your role and your team's role at Wave?
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously going through a lot of transformation, but I think, the thing that's most impactful for me right now is we have what I would consider to be a complex product, but not because we may have tried to make it complex. It's that accounting is actually complex for a lot of first-time business owners just in general, right? Like, it's like, what do I do? And like, if you start talking about things like journal entries straight away, that's really challenging for someone who is, coming to us because they were recording some lines in an Excel or a Google sheet or keeps their receipts in a shoebox and things like that. And like, they're just trying to get their business off the ground. I think that's really challenging. So to me, I really think, and I think this applies to everything in financial services as well, because it is all complex when you're talking about like banking regulations or like how come it takes 3 to 5 days for an ACH to transfer into my account, like things like this that are like, when you work in financial services, you kind of know this just generally, but the customer doesn't, they expect that like, in some cases we might have a customer that says like, I can call my business bank today and get this moved. And I'm like, that's challenging for us because we can't actually physically call our bank and get like an API fixed, as an example, at speed because something. So I think it's, it starts with educating your team as well. Like you can only be the expert if your team is the expert. So if you know the answer to that, you have to ensure that your knowledge base, your content, your training is really up to speed. And that's something that we're investing in on our team as well, because it just helps us become the expert. And that's what customers are looking for us to be. It's like, your business better than them, they're coming to you for a solution. So like bridging that gap in education means that those customer service and or success agents on your team or whoever is talking to a customer has the information at their fingertips to be able to sound like the expert and is the expert because they're educated too. So I think to me, it's like that's how you navigate that challenge, which is really focus on the education of your team, and then they can help educate the customer as well on something that can be complex.
So customer success is really, especially for you, but probably in many other teams, about education, understanding within the team, and then having the team help for the customer to understand what actually it means to be successful, what it actually means, what they actually need to do, and why things sometimes are a bit more difficult in financial services.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Like, how do you get to I'm very, very simply said, right? Like, let's say I'm just building customer success today. I want to get, and I'm hiring my first 1 or 2 team members. I want them to get educated. What do I do?
So many different pathways, right? Like, I mean, I think traditionally a lot of people when they first set up a team is like, I must do everything myself. No, someone is helping us build the product, like I really have a lot of faith in our product team and I look to them for support because they're building a solution for customers through research. If they are doing that really well, they understand what the issue is deeply. So like, I think for me, having a really close relationship with your product team to really build that relationship and understand a customer's pain points from both perspectives, but also, hey, you didn't build this thing in your MVP. I know a customer is going to ask a question about this edge case. That's where a CS leader or CS team can really impact this, right? Because you have to come in and say, I don't get it. I need help. And like being open and transparent about what you also don't know could come from the customer's perspective as well. And I think that helps the product team understand what they need to share as like, why aren't we building this thing? In our case, it might be actually the fundamental accounting principle is not that. And that's why we don't want to build it, because we don't want the business owner to do the wrong thing. Knowing that can help us build resources that share that with the customer, that say we aren't building this feature because it is not a foundational accounting principle that we want to encourage. That could be a really great example of like just one piece, or it's like just having that open communication with your product team and really building that relationship and both be on the same page can lead to a better outcome, I think, for the customer in the end.
And that's a product team. I've got a tech company. They're building engineers. They really deeply are ingrained in sometimes really niche problems that then add up to the whole product. We've got this in product, but then there's legal compliance. There's other things you have to take into account, which often I find is even harder to sometimes understand or teach, as in like educate. How do you go about this? Because not everybody can read all the laws. Like how do you let everyone, like new team members, be effective in a regulatory framework, for example?
Yeah, I think it's going back to that education piece, right? Like I think probably in my experience, the one that's most challenging is North American anti-money laundering rules around financial services. There are significant things that customers just do not understand at all. Like it's all available online. Like you could go on deep dive today, like what is an AML regulation and like what are they? And the reality is like a lot of the time a CS agent or team member is not able to actually communicate that because they're not allowed to by law. So we can't tell you why we might need to do a certain thing. And there might be like a background reporting thing that is only limited to certain people. So you end up in this like confusion where it's like, well, how transparent can I actually be about this? And the answer is like, sometimes not. So I think it goes back to educating the agent on like, what is your responsibility and what can you say and what you should steer clear of? And that's both protecting the customer, but it's also protecting your business to some degree, right? And I think, if we can continue as customer experience professionals to some degree, reminding folks that your CS team or your frontline team is the first line of defense against this sort of thing. I think encouraging them to be part of the conversation and building that education, like deep education, without going into like, here are the specifics. It's like you can build education around it. And I think the more empowered your team is to understand what is within their control and what absolutely isn't, and where they can go and where they can send that information for more help, I think the better it is for everyone.
And that's like education is really like at the core then of how you build the team, how you educate customers. But like sometimes people get confused, right? Because it's customer service, like support, service, success, like it's like regardless of financial services, all the same. We get a question, we answer it. So I find this an interesting one to spend some time on actually. Like, how do you define really great customer success versus like customer support, customer service, which might be a bit more transactional maybe?
So this is a challenge. And I've always defined the difference as it's the easiest thing in the world. It's like, are you actually understanding what the customer is asking for? Because sometimes they will ask for something in financial services that isn't what they're actually looking for. So I'll give you an example. In our product, someone will say, do you have a direct integration with this partner service to get all my transactions in?
Yeah.
Actually, what they're asking for is like, can I get my bank transactions in there? And so like you have to kind of be able to translate what the customer is saying. And so making sure you're asking questions and understanding exactly what the customer wants. And this gets challenging as well with the addition of like AI chatbots and whatnot, because now you're in this like, what does integration mean versus, automation? And so like, it's challenging, I think, but like if you're a person and you're working with a customer, I think really understanding what the problem is and asking really great questions, just everything you can to really understand what they're trying to achieve, not what they're specifically asking for, and then giving them all the resources to help them achieve what they need to do is the difference.
So it's really like achieving the real goal that they want to see, discovering that, and then going there. So that's a very different conversation that I have than, hey, can I get an integration of X? So what do you look for then in team members that can go through these journeys? I think like we didn't talk about this in much detail, but I'm actually curious because like especially in the age of AI, everybody says, "Oh, we can put AI on this," right? You could say, "Oh, I just want it to be fast and running on OpenAI," but there's something human in customer service, especially in this age. And I find it always interesting to figure out like what's the one thing or two things you are looking for now. And I think a lot of listeners would benefit from this as well.
Self-motivation, so someone who really cares to get it right is one. And then the other one is just someone who is resourceful enough to keep trying, right? Because you have to be motivated as well. Like you're going to get the same kind of question over and over and over again, and you need to be able to like answer it a different way. But someone who's like willing to go and deep dive and investigate it, like I will value that over, anything else. And someone who's just like someone who could just bounce right off you. Like money is, especially when you're in financial services, it's either your personal money or your business's money, right? Like money is it's a really high emotion kind of thing that you're talking about. It's, it's different to like, I lost my order. Can you tell me what my shipping receipt is? That's also panicky and like it can be difficult.
Depends on what is in there. It could be a thing, yeah.
But if you're like if your customer is saying, I have lost my payroll, like I don't know how to pay my team, you have to be able to empathize with that and really help them focus on how to get that money back to them and be able to calmly respond and help the customer out.
So self-motivated and then resourceful team members that actually manage to go through that education journey with you and then educate customers as well in order to solve their problems in the end. Ideally in a world where cryptocurrencies don't have to come for the rescue, but maybe it's an extension of your product roadmap. I mean, we even had that ideation session today. Thank you so much, Mila. This was super insightful. And really enjoyed the kickoff to our third season of Cards Against Complexity together with you. Thank you for the insights into what you're doing at Wave. And I think the journey that a team such as yours, especially in financial services, can be on to get from customer support to customer success and deliver something that customers, really get their problem solved.
Agreed. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Bye.